Hello, nonfiction and STEM fans. This is Kirsten Larson, author of the newly released A True Wonder, illustrated by Katie Wu. And today I'm here with another nonfiction or STEM book review. I am reviewing Child of the Flower Song People, Luz Jimenez, daughter of the Nahua. This is by Gloria Amescua, illustrated by Duncan Tonatiuh. And I had seen several reviews of this book saying how wonderful it was, and I had to see for myself. So this is a fascinating story, and I think a really interesting takeaway about kind of the ideas that we have for ourselves and what we think we'll be when we grow up. And maybe there are many different ways to fulfill our dreams and aspirations. So let me read you a little bit of the beginning of the book, and then we'll get into it. Oh, and actually I have to keep my thumb on the fantastic glossary here in the back because I will mess up some of these Aztec words if I don't. And the art, look at this art. Absolutely amazing. A girl stared at the stars sprinkling the hammock of sky. Like many other nights, she listened to the whisperings of the ancient Aztecs in the wind. She heard their Xochicuicatl, their flower song. She listened as the elders repeated tales their grandfathers had told, tales their grandfathers' grandfathers had told, how sacred streams and mountains protected them, how the Nahua lost their land to Cortez, the conqueror, and to the Spaniards who followed him. She was Luz Jimenez, child of the flower song people, the powerful Aztecs who called themselves Nahua, who lost their land, but who did not disappear. And one thing I love in the illustrations throughout is how Duncan Tonatiuh shows some of the ancestors in the different pictures as part of the sky and the moon here. I think it's really cool. Gloria talks about how Luz lived in the traditional ways of her ancestors, doing all the different things that they did, and at night she would listen to the stories of her ancestors until she kind of went and saw the school in town, which at first she wasn't allowed to go to, and then she was compelled, the Spaniards compelled the indigenous children to go to school. And she was forced to kind of put on non-traditional clothes, go to school, and give up a lot of her traditional ways, but she never forgot her family stories, and she developed this idea that she wanted to be a teacher. But unfortunately, the Mexican Revolution came to her area of Milpa Alta, and they were forced to move to the city. So she was unable to become a teacher in a traditional sense, but she became a teacher in a different way. So she became a very influential model for a lot of very famous artists. People like Diego Rivera, who had her pose, and so they captured a lot of her culture as they photographed and painted her. So people like Diego Rivera, Fernando Leal, Tina Modotti, Jean Charlotte, and others. And she also told scholars her stories that she knew of her ancestors. So I love this page. It says, though many artists sought out Luz, her heart still longed to teach. After the revolution, Luz returned to Milpa Alta and applied to be a teacher. But without being given a reason, Luz was rejected. Once again, her dreams seemed to swirl away forever like petals on the wind. But in the city, she had become friends with artists and scholars. These scholars wanted to learn Nahua culture. They wanted to learn Nahua language. They wanted to go to Milpa Alta. So she becomes what they call a living link to the culture of the Aztecs. So the thing that I find truly fascinating is this whole idea that we can have an idea of what we want to do for our life. Like in her case, she wanted to be a teacher, um, but she found a different way of doing that. She couldn't be a teacher in a traditional classroom sense, but she was a teacher of her culture, passing it on through artists and scholars. So this is just such a beautiful piece of history. It has a glossary, notes, a selected bibliography, a timeline of her life, and an author's note complete with some photos of the real Luz posing. So I highly recommend this book, Child of the Flower Song People by Gloria Amescua and Duncan Tonatiuh.